On Tuesdays, we talk to our neighbors in business, and the segment brought to you by our friends at Northstar Bank. And I'm really happy to have with us from Dexter Community Players, the president of DCP, and that's Abby Briggs. Good morning, Abby. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good morning, and I'm great.
Good to have you here. And also joining us from Dexter Community Players is a board trustee and a director of the new musical Into the Woods, which opens soon at the Dexter Community Players at Copeland Auditorium, and that's Derek Priestcorn. Derek, how are you? Thanks for being here.
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Into the Woods from the great Stephen Sondheim. A lot of people may know this musical, maybe even a little bit more because of the film that came out just a few years ago.
For sure.
Give us a little plot synopsis, Derek, if you would.
Sure. Act one is all the typical fairy tales. They all mesh together. It's Cinderella, Jack and the Beanstalk, Rapunzel, Little Red Riding Hood.
Wow, the whole top 10 of fairy tales. Yeah.
And then, so the first act is very, it ends at happily ever after. Everyone gets what they want. And then act two takes kind of a darker tone where it's not always happily ever after. And quite a few of the characters do pass away in the show. But at the end, they come back to say what they've learned at the end of the show, while the rest of I believe the 9 characters that are still alive interact with one another and everything. So it's just a wonderful written show and is just a musical theater favorite for many.
Abby, talk about your involvement with Dexter Community Players. How long have you been president, and how long have the players been around?
We have been around since the early 80s.
Wow.
We have consistently done at least one show every year. We've kind of grown in the last decade. We currently do 3 shows a year, and we are adding on one this year of a children's theater production that we're going to do based on community requests to get the little ones involved more. So we're excited about that. We're going to be doing Alice in Wonderland coming up.
Oh, yeah. And what did you do earlier this year leading into the Woods?
Yes, we did our first ever dinner theater this past spring of the Fantastics that, the one everybody knows forever. It's actually it was the longest running musical theater show ever.
Yeah, decades, right?
Decades,
Literally.
yeah. People would go to New York, they'd go get a hot dog, and they'd go see the Fantastics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it was really fun. And we try to do a lot of variation. We try to do stuff that's family friendly. We try to do stuff that kind of pushes the envelope. We try to get a lot of different genres of theater so that everybody has a chance to participate in something and see something that they really enjoy.
Derek, what are some of the other plays? Have you worked on other plays at Dexter Community Players besides Into the Woods?
I first got involved with DCP in 2014. They were doing auditions for the Rocky Horror Show by Richard O'Brien, and I got cast as Dr. Frankenfurter, the sweet transvestite.
Oh, yes.
And so I got to play one of my dream roles, which was a lot of fun. And since then, I directed Disney's The Little Mermaid, which was last summer, and it was a great show. Lots of the community came out to see it, and we had, I believe, at least 3 of the 6 performances that were sold out. So it was just great to see the community coming and supporting us and to see this Disney classic that we did. And then for this show, I had presented it back in March, and the board approved it. And so I'm directing this. I'm doing the costumes. I've done 14 of the 23 costumes, so there's only 9 that I have not done.
Whoa.
And then there's, and I'm also in the show. I play the role of Cinderella's father alongside Abby as the stepmother.
Oh, you're both in the play.
Yes.
Wow, talk about multitasking.
Yes, yeah. I'm the wicked stepmother. So it's kind of interesting because, if you're used to the kind of Disney-fied version of any sort of fairy tale, especially Cinderella. If you go back and read, this is based on like the Brothers Grimm, like this is the original source. And, things aren't all like, happy and sweet.
There's no singing mice or anything like that. I mean, it's pretty great. Both of the stepsisters, one loses a toe and one loses a heel, and there is a sleight of hand blood effect that Abby gets to do in the show.
Ooh,
while she cuts
because we got to fit their feet into the shoe, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it. Our neighbors in business this morning. This segment brought to you by Northstar Bank, and from Dexter Community Players, it's Abby Briggs and Derek Priestcorn. When is the musical Into the Woods on stage? And where are the performances held at generally? Where do you hold your shows generally?
We hold our shows at Copeland Auditorium,
In Dexter?
the majority of them in Dexter. If you know where the administrative offices are for the schools, it's right in the same building. It actually, Copeland was a school, and they turned it into part of it at the administrative offices, and there was a large gym auditorium that they turned into a black box theater.
All right.
So it's right on Main Street. You know, if you're coming from Ann Arbor, just take Dexter Ann Arbor Road. It'll be in right before you get to
can't
town on
miss
your
it.
right.
It's a big brick building.
Yeah.
But the physical address is 7714 Ann Arbor Street, Dexter, Michigan. We go up November 2nd through the 5th. We have shows Thursday on the 2nd at 7 p.m., Friday the 3rd at 7 p.m., Saturday the 4th at 2 and 7, and then Sunday we close on the 5th of November at 2 p.m.
And best way to get tickets online, I assume?
Yes, DexterCommunityPlayers.org. If people are uncomfortable with purchasing tickets online, there's actually, if you go to our website, there's a way you can send in a check and order them through the mail. But obviously, simplest is online.
Online, Into the Woods, being presented by Dexter Community Players at Copeland Auditorium in Dexter. Opening night is 2 weeks from this Thursday, November the 2nd, and continuing through November the 5th. Abby, Derek, best of luck on the play, and thanks for being with us today. Good to have you here, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our Neighbors in Business, brought to you by Northstar Bank on 107.1.